Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cyberscoop TV. I am Greg Otto, your editor-in-chief. We are at the Fal.Con Public Sector Conference today, and I am talking with Rob Sheldon, Head of Technology Strategy for the public sector at Crowdstrike. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
So it's 2020, obviously an election year, and election security blends technical and human challenges together like no other area. So where do you think efforts should be concentrated when it comes to the security of elections?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that election security is the most central issue that we have to deal with today, and it's also the case that elections generally are a big logistics challenge. So there's a lot of different entities involved in administrating them and make sure that they work properly and work in a way that's accessible to everybody, in a way that there's assurance in the result that comes out. So I think that there's a lot of different entities that have a lot of different roles. And the important thing is for everybody that has a role, whether you're a campaign security person, an elections volunteer, or part of an elections administrator entity, to be doing things that help support the ultimate outcome of a secure election. But everybody's got different things that they need to do.
So from election security to corporate security or public sector agency security, in your opinion, what is the best way to get buy-in from the workforce when it comes to security initiatives?
I think there has to be a culture in organizations across the board that understands the importance of security. And that means sometimes that folks need to go a little bit out of their way to either use technologies or processes that may not be the most convenient, but that make sure that you get secure outcomes. And then it's incumbent upon people who are technology providers or administrators to make sure that they're making responsible trade-offs for how many hoops to make their workforce jump through to be able to have secure systems and secure products. So it becomes a little bit of a trade-off. There definitely needs to be a balance that's struck. But other than that, aside from the cultural aspect of making sure that those trade-offs are handled responsibly, it's making sure that the top echelons of leadership understand that security is important and that they're sending cues about accountability for good security outcomes, and that people are empowered to be able to do things that may be a little bit inconvenient, but if they lead to a better outcome, then they need to be tolerated.
So what other innovations do you think agencies could leverage in order to get a leg up when it comes to the threats they are facing every day?
I think that there's a number of different things that folks who are in security roles should be thinking about. This goes across the board, from how you configure your workforce, how you train them, what different technologies you employ, and in particular, trying to be forward-thinking about, like, when you're adopting a new system or when you're designing a new system, to think about, like, how will this work if conditions change somewhat? Is this setting us up for success over the medium and long term? So maybe this is convenient today, but where will it leave us 2 years or 3 years or 4 years after implementation? So right now, I think there's a lot of attention being paid to design concepts that are more like zero trust, or more that enable remote workforce, or more that are tolerant of having more IoT or systems like that. And so just trying to have, like, a little bit of a long-term plan about how the things that you're doing today will feed into the systems that you're trying to design for tomorrow. So it might look a little bit different in applied areas, like if someone has a lot of need for IoT systems, or if there's control systems or ICS systems, it would be a different picture. Or even if people are talking about systems for elections, for example, there might be some more specific needs that they have to account for. But that's part of the challenge that we have in the field, is just making sure that everybody who's designing systems for different ends can have, like, best practices that are known and are able to be implemented repeatedly to get good security outcomes.
So finally, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed every aspect of our world. How do you think it's changed cybersecurity?
I think that a lot of people have been spending a lot more attention to thinking about how, like, resilience impacts their business, or think about resilience for the purpose of their business process. So I think that people are thinking about like, what are the unforeseeable things or things that we haven't foreseen so far that might change? What assumptions have we made about either our workforce or our systems that might get challenged if there's a new event or a new risk or a new shock of some kind? And then trying to think through how to make changes that will make systems more robust in the face of new challenges or new strains. I think that because cybersecurity at the end of the day is a exercise in risk mitigation, people are like, this has helped people think about cybersecurity more as a risk problem. And I think that beyond that, I think it's accelerated people's timeline. I mentioned before that people are more federated now. So there's more people who are doing work from home. This was a trend that was happening for years anyways. And it's just something that COVID-19 has really accelerated. So there's some legacy technologies that people were using for networking or for security specifically that just probably won't withstand the transition to having your workforce everywhere and not necessarily behind a corporate firewall, not necessarily on premise. And there's some specific things that will change, but there's also some like how how you design your network, for example. And then there's just some more general things like can you expect for an administrator to be able to handle an employee's device within a short period of time, or is that something that might have to involve someone taking a trip to the post office or something like that in order to get someone to get a hands-on a device if it needs troubleshooting or support. So there's definitely some workforce concepts that come into play. And then there's just general collaboration issues. So how do you make sure that your staff can do the work that they're supposed to do at the end of the day and do it gracefully? So yep, a lot of changes. And the thing about the way that this crisis unfolded is that it took a structural change, really compressed it. So there are a lot of people, I think, that would tell you a few months into the COVID-19 crisis that they've already kind of managed the transitions that they had to manage because it was just a necessity to keep things going. So a lot of things happen slowly until they don't, and I think that like some of the changes that COVID-19 were brought on really rapidly.
Great, Rob. Appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And for more on Fal.Con's cybersecurity conference and all things when it comes to public sector cybersecurity, check out more on cyberscoop.com. I'm Greg Otto. Thanks for watching.